Hi everyone. Today, I, Chavi Garg, is here to host an amazing uh, tech podcast with Saurabh Kochhar. He is. It's been years that he has been into the field of entrepreneurship, and he's the founder and CEO of Meddo Health, and also he was the co-founder and CEO of Food Panda in India. So it's an honor to have you.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
Great. So, would love to know about something about your journey as an entrepreneur and how you actually got started with so many startups and so amazing thoughts and ideas.
I think most entrepreneurs start their journey the same way, I guess. धोखे से शुरू होता है हमेशा, right? So you live in your utopian world. You think about an idea, and then it gives you a few sleepless nights before you finally decide to kind of dive in, right? So nothing very different for me, to be honest. Started as a very dewy-eyed boy, thinking that with print venue, which was my first venture, that will change the world, and been at it for almost 10-12 years now. So I would think with the same passion, the motive being the same, that we need to kind of create difference, create impact. First it was with printing, then it was with food, and now I think with something that kind of is most important bit for each and every one of us, which is our health.
That's actually pretty amazing. Would love to know about something related to what is actually IKS Health and something about the vision and how actually are the founding it.
Yeah, I think the idea and the vision with Meddo is essentially to try and organize the entire outpatient care, and the reason I decided with, of course, my co-founder Dr. Nishal, to go down the path of organizing outpatient care is because in our belief that's the most important step in the health journey, and also the step which is most broken, right? If you think about the Indian health systems, it's actually very well oiled to push you into the hospital rather than keeping you out of it. So somebody had to kind of come in and ensure that we are giving the best possible care ahead of time, so that people do not need hospitalization, so that diseases do not progress in their life cycle to the point where it either becomes critical or it needs hospitalization, whichever way you want to look at it, right? So which is why we thought that this is one of the most important bits, and it's somewhere shame for us, that as a country, as a population, we still don't have a good answer around who covers for health, right? So every other developed nation, either the insurance is covering or the government is covering. In India, 80% of the healthcare spend is out of pocket, and 50% of overall healthcare spend actually happens in outpatient care, where the insurance is less than 1%, whether government or private. So I think it's a very neglected part of the entire healthcare ecosystem, which we are trying to kind of bring the required attention to, I would say.
That's actually pretty amazing, and the thought process is truly great. So, wanted to know that you actually spent 3 to 4 years or more than that in the food industry. Then, what struck you, and why you actually shifted from food to health industry?
देखो मेरे पास इसके बहुत सारे आंसर्स हैं, right? I have like a few brilliant stories, stroke of genius that struck me and stuff like that, but none of that is true, right? The fact is that we found ourselves at a point with Food Panda where the lead investors wanted out, and so we had to give them an exit, and I had to give that exit. I had to sell Food Panda. We did that. We sold it to Ola, right? So had that not been the case, I wouldn't have been here. So in certain ways, I think it was a good thing, because I think especially if I look at the last 2 years, the amount of I would say, I don't know if impact is the right word, but we've tried our best to kind of bring an impact during the entire COVID period with Meddo. But even otherwise, being able to do something in the entire pandemic year and a half, being able to create a difference, with people at large, with your near and dear ones. I think it was a blessing, and for that, I feel it was worth it. But had that not happened, I would still be running Food Panda, and we would potentially be where a Zomato and a Swiggy put together are.
Exactly, that's actually pretty much true. So, would love to know, like, are you planning to expand this, like Meddo? How you are planning to do, like, any future plans that you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've very recently started expanding into few cities outside of Delhi. So for the bulk of the period, we were actually trying to build the business in one city of Delhi NCR. So we've now launched Bangalore, we've launched Jaipur, we've launched Chandigarh, and I think over the next 2 years, we plan to be at least another 10 to 12 cities beyond the current four cities. So I think that's going to be the dominant expansion plan. We also acquired a company in the name of Doxper, which kind of not only gives us the service coverage, but also gives us a fantastic play in the entire outpatient care data. Because I think if we look ourselves 5-10 years out, having access to that data to deliver evidence-based practice is going to be key as well, right? So I think with data, with services put together, I think we are very well positioned to grow on both the fronts, both in India and abroad, I would say.
That's actually pretty amazing. So, like, as an entrepreneur, like, what are the 5 key advices you can give to the youth? Like, if it's like, it can be your mistakes or it can be your learnings.
यार देखो, 5 एडवाइस चाहिए तो आपको कंसल्टेंट के पास जाना पड़ता है, ठीक है? अगर एक दो से काम चला सकते हो तो किसी एंटरप्रेन्योर से बात करो, राइट? सो आई बीन अ कंसल्टेंट इन माय लाइफ. I try very hard not to put that hat on a day-to-day basis. But I think as an entrepreneur, my advice to any fellow entrepreneur would be, a pick a subject that you're passionate about, because the only thing that is guaranteed is highs and lows, more lows than highs. So to be able to weather that, you need perseverance, you need passion to be able to be at it for a significant amount of time, right? And that won't happen unless the problem that you're trying to solve is core to you, right? What is the difference between a startup and a small business, right? It's about you're actually, with a startup, an idea, an innovative idea, you're trying to go into uncharted waters, and in what jo management and consultant parlance mein the unknown unknowns hote hain, you're actually trying to solve for the unknown unknowns. So which means that it is always going to be dark, it is always going to be hard, and you'll need to kind of pave your way through the thick and thin. So make sure that the problem is there, make sure you have the right team, would be the second advice, who can help you, who can solve for, I would say, your weaknesses, and cover you from multiple bases. So I think those will be the only two things I would say. Make sure you have the right problem at hand, and make sure you have the right team to kind of carry you through it. अगर ये दो चीजें sorted है तो फिर बाकी सब is just about time.
That's actually nice. I really love the advices. So, wanted to understand about the marketing strategy. So, like, again saying, like, shifting from food to the health industry, what are challenges you have faced when it comes to the marketing, and also about investment at the same time?
I don't think either are comparable, right? So the only comparable between the two segments is the fact that both are dominantly unorganized and both are extremely fragmented, right? India has about 1 million restaurants, about 1 million doctors, and about 500,000 clinics, right? So with that part of the I would say industry, or the overall segment being similar, I think both are very different, right? So I think the strategies, the motivations, the core value props need to be very different apart from that. So I don't think there's a parallel beyond the fact that both market structures are extremely fragmented and large is the only common point.
That's okay. So, would love to understand about like any challenges that you have faced in the medical, in the health industry. Like, to be honest, like there are various teenagers that think of doing something great in the health industry, but somehow feel demotivated. So, what can any challenges that you would love to share and how you cope up from that?
Well, I am not a teenager, so but if you feel I am, then that's a that helps me sleep tonight potentially. But tomorrow I'll still face the reality, So, but I think health overall, has the potential to become daunting,
Okay.
because you're dealing with people's lives at the end of the day. The smallest thing to the largest thing affects you, your day, your life, and thereby, of course, it can potentially become overwhelming. Which is why I think it's important to do two things, right? One, always have the right expertise at hand. One of the reasons for me to kind of partner with Dr. Nishal, who's my co-founder and an MD internal medicine, by education, was so that at no point between the two of us, we have no clue about the patient or the doctor or the process of healthcare. you know
Exactly.
it's otherwise, coming purely from a technology background, it's very easy for anybody to go wrong, right? And thereby, having the right counsel, having the right know-how at every point becomes supremely critical. And we try tons of things on a daily and weekly basis, with all one single, we have one single kill switch to anything, and that kill switch is Dr. Nishchal. If he says ye nahi karna, matlab ye nahi karna, because otherwise, we know 9 out of 10 times if we go ahead and do that, it will go wrong. So I think having that expertise at hand, having that expertise on team, is very important, right? And unfortunately, in teenage, you cannot be a doctor, so which means you will always need that guidance, you will always need that. And I think it's also very important to segregate wellness from health. It very frequently kind of gets clubbed together. But I think in the broader health segment, you can potentially talk about both. But when you talk about healthcare delivery, that's very different from wellness. So I think a lot of exciting stuff, a lot of newer stuff is still happening in the wellness space. But I think it's high time that we also encourage folks to do more and more in the healthcare space. Of course, under the right guidance, of course, with the right team setups, etc., etc. So coming back, I don't think anybody should be daunted. They should know what to look for. They should know, what to have on their side before they kind of decide to step out. But it's not something that is unsurmountable.
Exactly, that's true. So, summing it, as you mentioned about these things, so would love to understand. So, what are the myths that somehow entrepreneurs face when they come to health sector? Like some misunderstanding or myths that we can know.
I think overall health is very counterintuitive, you know, and thereby for an engineer it will always be a challenge, because as an engineer, you're trained to kind of think step by step, analytically, logically, right? If A, to B hoga ही होगा,
Exactly.
नहीं होता यार, so I think that step by step process always breaks down, because ultimately, you're dealing with, again, a very very complicated machinery called the human body, and thereby you have to cover 10 different bases, right? I have the amount of I would say respect that I've developed and garnered about what doctors do on their day-to-day basis to kind of help their patients, I think has increased multifold, because it's just the amount of bases that they need to cover in terms of what all could potentially go wrong, right? So a headache, any headache is different from another headache. It's as simple as that. अगर आगे दर्द हो रहा है तो कुछ और हो सकता है, पीछे दर्द हो रहा है तो कुछ और हो सकता है, उठते दर्द हो रहा है तो कुछ और हो सकता है, लेटते दर्द हो रहा है तो कुछ और हो सकता है, and for a doctor, they have to kind of go through that entire triage process in their head to say that these are the 5 potential things that could happen only because you have a headache. and that is key to everything. So it's not like if A then B, it is if A then ABCD. And
Hmm.
so I think that's the biggest thing that I've had to kind of or had to adjust to, in a way, that you need to take a lot many more possibilities in mind before you take every step.
That's actually a pretty
Which,
true.
by the
Like
way, means
in
it's difficult to create a business in healthcare, which also means that once you have, it's far more defensible, because anybody else
defensible.
will need to go through the same process of getting to where you are, and there is no shortcuts.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's actually pretty much true because like engineers always find a shortcut, or we can say
नहीं होता
that
है.
jugaad every time, but somehow we can't just do anything like this in healthcare, and it's very much critical.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. So, like we talked about healthcare, we talked about these things. So, like like did you feel anything that what could have happened if you have done the same thing in foreign and the same thing you're doing in India? So like what's the actual difference you might understood or might seen in future, like while expanding in foreign countries?
Yeah, so I think one of the things we have done is we've actually not copied something that's happening globally. We are building Meddo for the realities of India, while we have other folks who are attempting to um, impact, to disrupt the outpatient care industry in different countries globally, and we keep learning from them. But the realities in India are actually very, very different. Like I said, there is no other country at scale which is 80% out of pocket. So how do you kind of create a model which is based on 80% insurance and make it applicable to India? So it doesn't happen. So I think in our particular case, if I weren't doing it in India, I would be doing something completely different. Even if in health, even if it's in outpatient care, even if I would have called it Meddo, the answer would have been very different, because we're genuinely building for the ground realities in India, working with the doctors, helping them, upgrade their clinics and create standardized outpatient care, which is a need in India, but may not be as much of a need anywhere else.
Yeah, because somehow when it comes to foreigners' health and ours health, it's totally different. The whole concept will have like you have to make a proper different concept, and everything will be different. So yeah,
True.
that's actually pretty much true. All those things have to keep in mind while doing it. So like how technology is helping you in Meadow? Like any
Well,
technology you think that yeah.
technology is at the core of everything that we do, right? So
Okay.
you cannot run a distributed operation effectively unless it's significantly banged on technology, right? So starting with making or using technology to make care available across channels, whether it's at your home, whether it's in the clinic, or it's online. So of course it starts by kind of homogenizing your journey across different channels, but even kind of maintaining, tracking, operating each of these different. We have almost 300 clinics now, right? So maintaining these 300 clinics, across different cities cannot happen unless you have real-time technology. Similarly, on Doxper side, some of the largest hospitals, some of the largest clinics, some of the largest platforms in the country kind of use our technology for their outpatient care. So unless you have that clarity, unless you have that very, very strong foundation of technology, it's very difficult to scale anything, right? And the reason we're already the single largest clinic chain in the country. The only way we've been able to do that is because it's very, very strongly rooted into a core technology model.
And how you cope up with the like competitors? Like, do you have any competitors, or it's just you in this thing?
नहीं नहीं, कभी भी नहीं. हिंदुस्तान में आप कुछ भी करो, कंपटीशन आ ही जाता है,
That's
right?
true.
So I think it's essentially futile to fight it, right? So I think uh, it's very important to kind of have your eyes set on the prize, and competition, other environmental factors are all things that will come and go. Some will stay, some will not. Whatever stays, you adapt with. Whatever goes away, you kind of move on. So I think building your business looking at competition is just not, I would say, fruitful. So you have to kind of keep eyes on what your goals are, what your vision, what your mission is, and thereby kind of stay true to that. Keep looking forward, right? So if somebody runs, you always know there is two things that are critical to running, right? So one is you can't be looking left and right, otherwise you will topple over and fall. And if you really want a good speed, you have to use all your limbs, both your hands and your legs. अगर हाथ जेब में रखोगे या पीछे रखोगे, it will not give you the speed that you need. So again, full focus, eyes on the prize, keep marching forward.
That's actually true. And it's just one last question from my side, that how you actually handle your team. What are your team building strategies? Those leadership like qualities you want to share with everyone.
I think it's more like my team managing me than me managing my team, honestly.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think couple of things. I think to be a good leader, at least the things that I try and practice is one, always be transparent and honest. You will have good days, you will have bad days, you will have the ups, you will have the downs. But if you can actually take your team along with them, of course shield them from, मतलब it's not like कि मतलब आज खराब दिन है तो आज आ जाओ, अब कोई भी आ जाओ, right? So not that much. So you have to of course create the balance, but I think it's very important to be honest, to be transparent with what we are doing, with how we're doing it. Second, I think it also, for me personally, it also goes beyond just work. When you're building a business, when you're building an early stage business, I would say, you're somewhere expecting your team to go beyond the normal, to give more than what a 9 to 5 job is, right? So in fact, you'll be surprised to know in Meddo we do not have a leave policy, we do not have a time policy, in the sense that we have policies, but the policy says manage your work, and that's it. So we're not counting attendances, we're not counting up roz kitne ghante office mein laga rahe ho, till the point what you're doing is getting done, and expectations are getting managed. So if you expect that from your team, you have to be able to kind of go beyond just the work and kind of connect with each of those people at a personal level, so that you can motivate them, so that you can bring them along on the journey, rather than trying to fight a lonely battle, right? So it's a very cliched adage which says it's lonely at the top, right? I don't think it necessarily needs to be.
Yeah, that's actually true. Like sometimes it's not about putting some restrictions and having always the policies. It's about how amazing environment you are providing to your team and how motivated they are to work with you, because ultimately you are the main person for them. Yeah, so that's pretty true.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining in for us today, and it was really amazing podcast with you. And thanks a lot, everyone. And we'll see you all in next tech podcast. Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining.